Hey folks, good afternoon, and it's great to see you and it's great to be with you. I'm right out here in front of a Delta Airlines jet because we're here today at the Delta Airlines Museum. And what you've got here is a business that's been centered around the customer, delivering service to the customer for over 75 years. Now, how does that tie into what you're doing as an educator? Well, let's step inside the Delta Museum and find out.
Favourite things about teaching is that when these children come into the classroom, each one has got a totally different mindset about how they perceive the world and how they internalise the world around them. And that's why I love looking at these tools right here, and I'm always thinking about tools. Imagine this, let's say you had a classroom of 35 kids come running into this tool shed right here behind me, this garage. Every kid would gravitate towards a different tool. Down below me there's a level here. There's a vice clamp on this table. Back behind there's a monkey wrench, crescent wrench, screwdrivers, hammers, nails, hard hat, jack, Allen wrench. There's a ton of different tools. And the beauty of it is some kids would race in to try to learn about all the different tools, while at the other time some students might just gravitate towards one certain tool and want to spend their time there. Once you get into the Delta experience, how can you feel like a member? How can you feel like as if it's your own personal experience? And the way that Delta does that for you is they offer so many different tools for you as a passenger to identify with Delta Airlines and to make it your own experience. And so how does that work in your classroom? You've got to have an intimate understanding of every single different control on that dashboard. Well, if those students represent each different instrument on that dashboard, you got to know what those instruments are saying. You got to be able to know how to read those instruments to fly that plane. If you've got 30 different controls, or you've got 15 different controls on your dashboard and you're only looking at one of them, or you're only looking at two of them, well, that's going to be great for those two students, because now you've personalised education for two students, but you've got 30 different students, and so you've got to learn 30 different controls to pilot that aircraft, and you've got to find out what makes them tick, and that's the only way you're going to fly that plane. And isn't that great? So a great business like Delta is going to give you many different avenues into that experience.
Look at these empty seats. Delta Airlines has got to fill these seats with people. Just like in the classroom, you've got to fill your seats with your students. There's a big difference though. On Delta Airlines, the passengers choose to sit in those seats. In your classroom, the students may or may not choose to be there. But just like Delta Airlines, you've got to keep them engaged and you've got to keep them in the seats or in the tent, as they say. And so how do you do that? Well, right now you've got empty seats, but watch what happens when these seats get filled with beautiful children, my own children, Gemma and Luke. Take a look. You see something about their behaviour that's so interesting, and it's so reflective of all the students that you teach. Notice Gemma. She sits down and then immediately looks at the aisle to see the people coming in, and she's smiling with them, she's waving at them, and she's engaged with other people. That's a personality trait, and you want to go back to Howard Gardner's personality traits and look at hers there. Engaged with other people. Now look at Luke. Much different scenario. Rewind the tape. What's he doing with his hands? Look at that. He's playing right there with the controls in the seats. He's playing, pulling out the table, pulling out the chairs, checking out the seat belt. Luke and Gemma are of two completely different mindsets. And that's a reflection of your students as well as Delta's passengers. Every single student's got a different set of needs, a different set of strengths, and you've really got to tap into those as an educator, or you're missing the plane.
And so you as a terrific teacher have got to give your student many different tools so that they can choose which one's going to work for them. But it's not just a hammer for all the students. And it's not just one control for all the students. You've got to give your kids options and different avenues into the same standards that you're teaching, that you're trying to get them to learn. And that's how you get your great outcome. Folks, it's really been wonderful to be a part of this Delta and personalization experience with you. I hope as a classroom educator or an administrator or as anybody that works in the school, perhaps now you've got a little bit of a better understanding about meeting the needs of your students, and that by personalizing their education, you're finding out what makes that student tick and how best to serve their needs. And so as you think about the Delta Airlines serving their customers, how are you going to serve your students? From about 35,000 feet, this is Seamus Davis saying thank you for coming along on this flight. We'll see you next time.